Drowning Love plunges us into the vibrant world of Tokyo's fashion scene, where Natsu Machizuki, a teenage model, is in the middle of a photoshoot. Cameras snap and lights flash as she strikes her poses with grace, but the glamour is short-lived as the scene shifts to a car journey with Natsu and her family father Naoki, mother Meiko, and her younger brother Ruta. They're headed to Naoki's hometown, a move that Natsu is visibly upset about. Forced to leave behind her thriving modeling career in Tokyo, she pouts in the back seat of the car. As they drive, Naoki reminds Natsume of his initial reservations about her entering the entertainment industry. He explains that they have no choice but to relocate to Yukagumo to care for her ailing grandfather, a responsibility they cannot ignore. The tension in the car is obvious as Natsume struggles to come to terms with her new reality. Upon arrival at her grandfather's house, a charming lodge, he welcomes them gladly and hosts a welcome party to celebrate their return. But Natsume, still sulking, slips away unnoticed and ventures into the nearby woods. Despite the warning signs forbidding entry, her curiosity gets the better of her, and she follows the path until it opens up to a secluded beach. There, she spots a young man with blonde hair around her age, named Koichiro Heisukawa, swimming in the water. Intrigued and drawn to his rugged charm, Natsume edges closer, her eyes fixed on him. But just as she is taking in the sight, he suddenly rises from the water, catching her off guard. He leaves the beach, but before he does, he asks that she tell no one about his being there. The scene shifts to a group of young people gathered around a magazine, admiring a photo of Natsume. They're discussing her recent move to Yukagumo, their voices filled with wonder and curiosity. On her first day at the local school, Natsume is greeted with instant recognition and enthusiasm from her new classmates, who cheer and swarm around her. However, one student stands out for his indifference, the blonde-haired boy from the beach, Koichiro, also known as Ko, who sits in the corner, uninterested. When the teacher steps out, the students pepper Natsume with questions, but the conversation takes a turn when they bring up her magazine photos. Koichiro suddenly inserts himself, dismissively ridiculing the photos and tossing the magazine aside. As he gets up to leave, Natsume, upset by his disrespect, confronts him, demanding to know why he was at the beach with the Shinto shrine. The classroom falls silent, with Natsume's classmates exchanging shocked and surprised glances. But one student, Katsutoshi Otomo, looks particularly distraught. His face pale with worry, he speaks up, asking Koichiro how could he go trespassing, knowing the repercussions of his actions and the curse that comes with it. He is especially bothered because his father is at sea. The weight of his words hangs in the air as the other students nod in agreement, their eyes wide with concern. Koichiro, still seemingly unbothered and unrepentant, exits the classroom with a sarcastic remark, leaving behind a group of worried students. The other students quickly gather around Natsume, warning her about the dangers of returning to the beach. They share eerie tales of those who ventured there before, only to meet with ill fate, their voices laced with concern and superstition. According to them, the beach is cursed, and anyone who trespasses will suffer the consequences. Curiosity and her stubborn nature get the best of Natsume, and she returns to the beach. She finds Koichiro is already there, lying in the sand. She tells him she understands his need to go against the norm and be there, because the town is boring, and it is a way to feel excitement. Koichiro gets up and invites Natsume to follow him, promising to show her something interesting. She agrees, and he leads her to a secluded part of the ocean. As they look out at the water, Natsume is struck by its beauty, but before she can fully take it in, Koichiro grabs her hand and jumps into the ocean, pulling her in with him. As they surface, he declares with a smirk that she's now cursed too. He then boasts that he can do as he pleases in the town, free from consequences. Natsume, annoyed and soaked to the bone, calls him arrogant. The next day at school, Natsume notices Koichiro's absence and asks her classmate Kana about it. Kana explains that Koichiro is a member of the prestigious Heisukawa family, a powerful and influential clan in the town. Natsume wonders if his family's status might be the reason for his arrogance, but Kana defends him, suggesting that there's more to Koichiro's story and that he's struggling with his own issues. Kana's words suggest a complexity to Koichiro's character. As it turns out, Koichiro was not in school because he had to join his father making the masks for the upcoming fire festival. In the next scene, Natsume receives a package from a well-known photographer from the city, Shogo Hirano. In the package, there is a photo book. Shogo intends to work with her, and her mother Meiko is excited by the opportunity. In the next scene, as they ride to school on their bicycles, Natsume tells Ko about the offer from Shogo for the photo book. Ko treats this information with disrespectful nonchalance, pointing out that her hair is a mess. Shogo Hirano arrives in Yukagumo and meets with Natsume, Naoki, and Meiko for a lively discussion about Natsume's future in photography. When Natsume asks why he chose her, Shogo makes a humorous comment about how he cannot breathe without her in front of a camera. After the meeting, they head to the woods for the photoshoot. Natsume strikes various poses, and Shogo snaps away, capturing her essence. Just as the photoshoot is underway, Koichiro appears, tossing stones at them and boldly declaring that the land they're on belongs to him, and so does Natsume. His sudden interruption and possessive claim hang in the air, casting a shadow over the otherwise joyful atmosphere. Natsume takes off after Koichiro, determined to confront him. When she finally catches up, they share an intense gaze, but no words are exchanged. Koakairo turns and leaves, leaving Natsume breathless and frustrated. She sinks to the ground, trying to catch her breath. Shogo, still snapping away, captures the raw emotion on her face, his camera clicking away as she sits there lost in thought. The impromptu photo shoot continues, with Natsume's unguarded moments becoming an unplanned addition to the original photo shoot. Next, Otomo drops by Natsume's household with a fresh fish delivery on his bicycle. As he hands over the catch, he playfully teases Natsume, asking if she posed for the camera without clothes. Natsume's face flushes, taken aback by his cheeky, almost intrusive question. Later at school, Kana enthusiastically endorses Natsume's budding connection with Koakairo, convinced they're meant to be. Kana's encouragement leaves Natsume contemplating the possibility of a romance with a mysterious young man who seemingly makes the move worth it. As Kana continues to encourage Natsume to pursue her connection with Koakairo, he suddenly appears, and Natsume eagerly shares the news that the photo book is finished. With surprising agility, she takes off running, and Koakairo gives chase, his long strides quickly closing the distance between them. When he finally catches up, he teasingly pushes her into a small, shallow rivulet of water flowing across the concrete. As she sits there, spluttering and soaked, he asks to see the photo book, his eyes filled with interest. Koakairo walks away with the bag, and Natsume chases after him. They sit down on the side of the road, and he hands her the bag without even glancing inside. Natsume pulls out the photo book. As he flips through the pages, his expression remains inscrutable, his eyes fixed on the images. Natsume breaks the silence, commenting that she doesn't recognize herself in the photos, attributing her captivating appearance to Shogo Hironu's photographic skills. Koakairo disagrees, his voice low and gentle, pointing out that she always looks at him with the same gaze as in the photos. Natsume's face flushes, and she admits, her voice barely above a whisper, that she wanted to impress him, hoping it would bring her closer to him. As she tears up, Koakairo hands her a can of soda, which fizzes over when she opens it. As the fizzing soda momentarily distracts her from her emotions, Koakairo leans in, and they share a tender kiss. The scene shifts to Natsume receiving an invitation from Shogo Hirono to be a part of his upcoming movie project. Meiko, her mother, immediately assumes she should return to Tokyo for the opportunity. But Natsume hesitates, her mind made up. She insists she's happy staying in Azumaya, her decision heavily influenced by her blossoming relationship with Koakairo. The thought of leaving him behind is unbearable, and she is apparently determined to pursue her newfound love, even if it means passing up a chance at stardom. Natsume heads to school, expecting to share the exciting news with Koakairo, and maybe even spend the day together. But her plans are dashed when he doesn't show up as promised. Disappointed, she makes her way to the forbidden beach, where they had their moments. When Koakairo finally appears, she opens up about the movie opportunity she gave up to stay in Azumaya for him. But instead of understanding, Koakairo seems distant and unsure, his commitment to their relationship in question. Natsume, feeling equally upset and uncertain, confronts him, and after a brief, tense exchange, he removes her bracelet and hands her his own, saying it will protect her, in a symbolic gesture of mutual devotion. Natsume gives him her bracelet. The scene shifts to a brighter moment, with the two of them laughing and screaming with joy as they speed along on Koakairo's bicycle, their happiness and connection growing stronger. A guest at the lodge, a researcher named Takumi, in town to study the fire festival, engages in a lively discussion with Natsume and her family. Her grandfather, with a knowing smile, mentions that this year's festival will be a first for Natsume, and she'll be accompanying Koakairo Hasegawa. The scene shifts to Natsume, beautiful in traditional attire, walking alongside Koakairo. She asks him point blank if they're dating, and he confirms with a nod. When she mentions that she might disappear and leave him, he takes her hand reassuringly, saying they'll always be connected. However, when she expresses her desire to participate in the fire festival, he clarifies that women are not allowed to join. She asks if he'll be able to recognize her while participating, but he explains that he'll be wearing a mask, making it impossible. As the festival reaches its climax, Koakairo and his clan perform the rituals, captivating the audience. Natsume, fully engrossed in the spectacle, is suddenly approached by Takumi, whose urgent tone and worried expression alarm her. He informs her that her grandfather has collapsed and been rushed to the hospital, where her family is with him. Without hesitation, Natsume trusts Takumi and follows him, leaving the festival behind. As they leave, they briefly meet Kana, and Natsume quickly briefs her on the situation. Meanwhile, Koakairo, noticing Natsume's sudden departure with Takumi, is about to intervene when Otomo approaches him and reveals a shocking truth. Natsume's grandfather is actually present at the festival, contradicting Takumi's message. Koakairo's concern for Natsume's safety increases, and he sets off after them, following the car. Takumi, his obsession evident in his words and actions, drives the car while Natsume sits uncomfortably beside him. As they take an unfamiliar route, Natsume's unease grows, and she questions Takumi's claim of taking a shortcut to the hospital. His response only causes her more fear. He reveals a disturbing truth: he has been obsessed with her since her debut, and has been stalking her, even mentioning her intimate moment with Koakairo. Natsume's discomfort and fear grow as Takumi, like many stalkers, attempts to justify his behavior, promising to make her happy despite his actions. The car becomes a claustrophobic space, trapping Natsume in a frightening situation. Takumi's obsession takes a dark turn as he forces Natsume into a brief, unwanted embrace. His sinister intentions become clear as he sneers that her kiss with Koichiro Hasegawa was merely practice for what he has planned for her. Natsume, terrified, seizes the moment to escape from the car and runs away as fast as her legs can carry her. But Takumi, relentless in his pursuit, gives chase. The scene becomes a heart-pounding, desperate race against time, with Natsume fighting for her safety and freedom. Koichiro, who has been tirelessly chasing after the car, finally reaches it, only to find it abandoned and empty on the roadside. With a sense of urgency, he leaves the car, out to search for Natsume, calling out her name as he scans the surrounding area. After what seems like an eternity, he finds her in a nearby gully, struggling to climb out. Koichiro rushes to her aid, attempting to lift her to safety from the top. As they make slow progress, Takumi suddenly appears, a heavy rock in his hands, his eyes filled with a menacing intent. He hits Koichiro over and over again till he is weak and helpless. Natsume, who watched this happen, attempts to run away, but Takumi, noticing this, goes after her. He finally catches up with her and wrestles her to the ground. As he takes advantage of her, he promises to make her happy. Despite her cries, he does not stop. Just in time, Naoki and a group of men from the festival arrive searching for Natsume. They find Koichiro, battered and semi-conscious, and rush to his side. With a weak voice, Koichiro directs them to the gully, where they discover Takumi and Natsume. The men quickly intervene, pulling Takumi off her and restraining him. Natsume, shaken and tearful, is finally safe. Her father embraces her tightly, tears of relief and worry streaming down his face. Natsume boards the school bus. Heading to school, she's met with indifference by her fellow students, who are too engrossed in their phones and jokes to even notice her. She takes a seat and begins scrolling through her phone, reading articles about her ordeal with Takumi and the subsequent lawsuit. One article catches her eye, mentioning her withdrawal from the highly anticipated movie role that was already announced. The bus ride is a blur as Natsume becomes lost in thought, her mind replaying the events that led her to this point. She can't help but feel a sense of disappointment and frustration, knowing that her chance to shine in the movie role is now gone. The other students' laughter and chatter fade into the background as she becomes consumed by her thoughts, feeling like an outsider among her peers. On the school staircase, Kana encourages Natsume to visit Koichiro, who has been eager to meet with her. Meanwhile, in the school cafeteria, Otomo is having lunch with a group of students when Natsume walks in. The conversation turns to her and the recent incident. With various versions of the story told by the students, the tone quickly turns mocking, which upsets Otomo. He stands up, scolds the group, and leaves the table. Later, Otomo finds Natsume eating alone on the lawn tennis court and invites her to join him. They have lunch together and discuss her breakup with Koichiro and his recent involvement with a violent crowd. As they ride home together, Otomo stops at a spot along the way and shows Natsume how to extract nectar from flowers he picks for her. Just then, Koichiro rides by on a four-wheeler, locking eyes with Natsume for a brief moment before moving on, unfazed. Otomo, however, appears visibly upset and jealous. The next day, Natsume heads to the harbor after school. Determined to confront Koichiro, she finds him and boards the boat, ready for a confrontation. The tension between them is clear as they have a heated discussion about their past relationship and personal struggles. In a bold move, Natsume pushes Koichiro into the water, following him in with a splash. She is reminding him of the time he did the same to her, hoping to spark a reaction. But Koichiro doesn't struggle or try to swim. Instead, Natsume takes charge, hauling him back up to the surface. As they break through the water's surface, Koichiro's expression is resolute. He wants nothing to do with her. The moment is tense, with Natsume's emotions raw and exposed. After her intense encounter with Koichiro, Natsume meets up with Otomo, and they head to a batting center to unwind. As they take swings and play, they share conversations about their future aspirations and crack jokes, their connection growing stronger with every passing moment. Later, Otomo visits Natsume at the lodge, and Mako lets him in, showing him up to her room. They exchange pleasantries and Otomo thoughtfully turns around, allowing Natsume to change into something more comfortable. The atmosphere is relaxed and friendly, with a sense of mutual respect and understanding between them. As Natsume rests in bed, fighting off a cold, Otomo arrives with a thoughtful gift in hand. They spend some time joking and laughing together, and the tension between them is palpable. Otomo leans in, and they share a tender kiss, their affection for each other evident on their happy faces. In a stark contrast, the next scene shifts to Koichiro's somber world. He's at home, working alongside his father, meticulously carving intricate masks. The atmosphere is subdued, a reminder of the complicated past and the emotional scars that still linger. The scene shifts to Natsume entering the lodge when suddenly she receives a phone call. The voice on the other end informs her that Shogo Hayano, the renowned director, remains keen on collaborating with her on a film project. Now that the controversy has faded, Natsume firmly declines, reiterating her disinterest in participating. However, the caller persists, insisting on sending her a script to review nonetheless. Days later, as Natsume returns from school, she's taken aback when Shogo himself appears. camera in hand, snapping photos of her. He reveals that he's traveled all the way from Tokyo to find her, as she did not respond to his previous request. Natsume's discomfort is clear as Shogo's unexpected arrival sparks a mix of emotions. Natsume's expression turns to disgust as Shogo reveals the role he has in mind for her, a character who suffers rape. The painful memories of her past experience resurface, and she vehemently declines, refusing to relive the trauma on screen. Shogo remains unbothered, which only fuels Natsume's frustration. Just as the tension between them intensifies, Otomo arrives on the scene. In a bold move, Natsume introduces him as her new boyfriend, a clear message to Shogo to back off. Shogo, undeterred, bids them farewell, leaving Natsume still visibly upset. She asks Otomo to walk home alone, needing some time to gather her thoughts. The scene shifts to a brawl with Koakiro at its center, surrounded by dozens of thugs. Despite being outnumbered, he appears to be holding his own, his movements swift and calculated. However, the scene abruptly cuts to Natsume standing on the forbidden beach, where Koakiro stumbles in, badly injured. She rushes to his side, embracing him as he collapses into her arms. Natsume finds shelter and cradles Koakiro, nursing him back to health. As she holds him, she thinks about the Koakiro she once knew, the one she loved. But when he finally awakens, his gaze is cold. His words piercing, that version of him is gone, erased by the harsh realities of his new life. Koakiro's eyes flash with intensity as he roughly pushes Natsume to the floor, their passion-filled quarrel erupting into a torrent of words. Natsume's emotions pour out, her voice filling the air, while Koakiro listens silently, his gaze never leaving hers. Finally, he responds with a fierce kiss, their bodies entwined as they lie on the floor, holding each other tight. As the storm subsides, Natsume suggests they flee together, escape the grip of their past. But Koakiro's expression turns resolute. He cannot leave. Bound by duty to his family and clan, who have protected this town for generations, he urges Natsume to pursue her dreams, to revive her modeling career, and leave him and the town behind. Koakiro's eyes betray his deep-seated feelings of inadequacy, stemming from his failure to protect Natsume from Takumi. The weight of his guilt and shame is heavy as he pleads with her to never show her face to him again, revealing his profound sense of unworthiness. He longs to be the man she deserves, someone she can be proud of, but feels he's fallen short in every way. His words convey the depth of his regret. Koakiro's gesture is a stark contrast to his words. As he tosses the bracelet she gave him earlier at her feet, Natsume picks it up, a symbol of their fractured connection, and leaves. The scene shifts to a bustling bar where Natsume meets Otomo, his face lighting up with excitement. However, his enthusiasm quickly fades as he notices her somber expression. He tries to lift her spirits, but she abruptly cuts him off, demanding they end their relationship. Otomo's confusion is obvious, but Natsume explains her reason. She's accepted a movie role and will be returning to Tokyo. Otomo, confident in their love, suggests they make it work despite the distance, but Natsume insists. As the reality of the situation sinks in, Otomo's grip on her arms tightens, and he proclaims his love for her with a passionate scream. Natsume's composure crumbles, tears streaming down her face as she's overcome with gratitude. He loves her, even when she feels like a mess. Despite the heartbreak, Otomo's love and selflessness shine through as he wishes Natsume the best, urging her to pursue her dreams in Tokyo. In that moment, they share a tender dance and sing karaoke together, cherishing their final moments. The scene shifts to the night of another fire festival, where Takumi returns, disguised behind a fake mask. Kana's sharp instincts detect his presence, and she swiftly warns Koakiro. This time, he arrives just in time to thwart Takumi's plans, unleashing a fierce beating. Though Takumi escapes, Kana assures Natsume that he's met his demise. Natsume, naturally suspecting Koakiro's involvement, returns to Tokyo and dedicates herself to her career. Years pass, and Natsume returns to her hometown for a vacation. In a stunning turn of events, the scene transitions to Natsume and Koakiro riding off into the horizon on his motorcycle, their faces beaming with happiness.